This is my thoughts of the Bengals in the playoffs if they make it. First off, Miami has to lose. What I feel confident they'll beat the Jets. And then Denver has to lose where they're playing their starting quarterback. But one thing is, they're always blaming their defense. But what about Joe Burrow's excuse for the start of the first few games? One of their main bad losses were to the Patriots. They lost 16-13. In my opinion, if you lose 16-13 to the Pats, we had a close game with them, but at least we won. That game debatably cost them the playoffs. My opinion about Zach Taylor, he's a solid coach, but he doesn't have a defense. But he has some defensive players, some solid pieces, but not really talent. Like, not enough talent or depth in the roster to be a good defense. But in my opinion, I also do think that I won't be mad if the Bengals made the playoffs. They earned the 7th seed if they get it. But if they don't get it and you're mad that the Broncos rested their starters, the Chiefs rested their starters, the Broncos started theirs, don't be mad. The freaking Broncos earned that right by winning their games. Even the Bengals, you can excuse Joe Burrow, late season, mid season, and all that play. But what about the start of the season? He had a pretty bad start to the season, first 3 games, I believe. But either way, they're 4-8. Even Joe Burrow, where they're 1-5 and I believe under 30 points, with them scoring 30 points. Well, that means if you look at the stats, they have more wins when they don't both score 30 points. So if you think about it, in a way, maybe you should run the ball more, not go in shootouts with teams. Because if you think about it, you're doing better when you don't score 30 points on the defensive side of the ball. So, in my opinion, yes, they do. But in my opinion, I think they should run the ball more. But they do have Burrow. By the way, go Allen. And I do ultimately hope that we do not play Bengals in the playoffs. But my opinion is they should not have lost to the Patriots if they want to complain to the playoffs. And Burrow had a bad game in it. You can lose those games. Let me give you an example. I wouldn't be mad if you lost to the Panthers if they just beat somebody really good. But the Patriots haven't beat many teams that are good or even beat many teams at all. So they lost 16-13. Terrible loss. But ultimately, I do believe the Bengals are a good team. But if you think about it, their record, though, is better when they don't score 30 points. So if you think about it and you make sure you don't get in shootouts, you could maybe win. It's a hard, crazy take to think of, but if you think about it, when they're under 30 points, they have a better record when their team scores under 30 points. So if you think about it, they're better they're better when their team doesn't do that. So if you go in a shootout, they'll suck. But for some reason, they won't do that bad if you do not score 30 points. So if you think about it, in a way, try to focus on. Try to extend the game more, run the ball, pass, screens, everything. But I do ultimately think the Bengals will not make the playoffs. The Dolphins or the Broncos will win. And I ultimately do think that either way, that defense is too weak for them to compete versus the Bills. People mentioned Joe Burrow. And then that the Bills have a nifty defense. We're also number 1 in turnovers. But also our defense is better than the Bengals. And the Bengals have no place on that playoff field playing a team like the Bills. They will mollywop them and kick them into next Sunday, at least their defense. There's no chance that their defense could even click versus their defense can start doing good versus our offense. It's not going to be a close game if we play them. And the record when teams score 30 plus is worse than when both teams do not. So, yeah, that's my take. But ultimately, we're going to go into my opinion about the college football playoff. One thing I'm going to say is you deserve to make the playoffs. I don't care if you're an SEC, Big 10, Big 12, whatever conference you are, ACC. If you're a team like Indiana, I know they sucked in the playoffs, but what can you do? They might have lost to Ohio State and got demolished, but what do you expect them to do when they bring in only 3- and 2-star recruits every year and had one good transfer portal class? What, by the way, they're doing a good transfer portal class this year. It's been looking good. But either way, what do you do in that situation? I don't think that they can they could compete with Ohio State if they bring in a hell of a portal class. What they're looking to do right now, like holy crap, they're trying to bring in players, not foreign ones a lot, but they're bringing in a lot of in general player, a lot of depth. They brought on their next quarterback from California University. But in my opinion, Indiana will be a good team next year. Kevin Jennings, he is someone that struggles with turnover. In my opinion, he is similar to Cam Ward, except he's way more reckless with the ball. He has the potential to be someone like Cam Ward. But it's going to take a while to do that, I think. He can play like Cam Ward. He does play like Cam Ward sometimes, but I do think ultimately he will. Player comparison if Cam Ward works out in the NFL is Cam Ward. In Miami, not McKin Plus. What I say is, should have won that game for Syracuse. Syracuse, solid ball club. Kyle McCord, people might say he was a bad QB just because of that 5 picks. He shouldn't be drafted. But 5 picks, okay. Let me give you an example. Tom Brady threw 3 picks in an NFL game before, I believe. I mean, I'm assuming most top quarterbacks in the NFL have done that at least once. So, yeah. But ultimately, in my opinion. And then another question, Penn State and James Franklin. One thing I like about James Franklin is, Vanderbilt, I'm assuming, they're having their best year in a while. But if you want to look at the best coach in history, it's James Franklin. He went there before Penn State. He was their only coach, I believe, to almost get 10 wins. He had 2 9-win seasons, got them ranked. Was the first coach to actually get them ranked, first one to win a bowl game in like 20-plus years. Actually got him a top 25 recruiting class before leaving to Penn State, but he built that Vanderbilt program up, and it fell down right after he left. But ultimately, in the end of the first year, they might have won 6 and 7, had a losing season, lost their bowl game, but it was their first time bowl eligible in forever. They went 9-4, and left for Penn State. But either way, had a great career, solid career. It's sad to say that's the best coach in Vandy football's history as a coach, because he had good seasons there, but he was only there for 3 seasons. And he probably has their most wins, too, if you think about it. And remember to follow if you do. If you enjoy this podcast, remember to like, and if you want to comment, whatever. Peace out.